single-handedly helping the Celtics rise back to the top of the food chain, to showing the new generation of players support when no one else would. Here's why NBA fans are still crazy.
You know what I'm saying? What about him and Magic saving the NBA? He didn't even get to that part. My fault.
The man was a menace throughout his career.
What's going on YouTube? Today we got why NBA fans are still obsessed with Larry Bird. Let's get into it.
From single-handedly helping the Celtics rise back to the top of the food chain, to showing the new generation of players support when no one else would. Here's why NBA fans are still crazy.
You know what I'm saying? What about him and Magic saving the NBA? He didn't even get to that part. My fault.
The man was a menace throughout his career. Larry Bird is the type of dude you never win across on a basketball court. If you throw any sort of trash talk his way, you'd better be prepared to face the consequences. Right? Bird was just relentless, and not to mention ruthless, when it came to destroying his competition. Also, Larry was known to be a perfectionist, and was revered by Celtics fans and basketball purists alike. During his era, there wasn't anyone who could step up to the man. Well, that was the case until Magic Johnson decided to pull up to the scene. But that's a story for later on in the video. Now, throughout his career, Bird managed to win 3 NBA MVP titles and led the Boston Celtics to 3 NBA titles. He also led them to the finals 5 times. It's feats like these that make it hard to put into words just how good this dude really was. He simply outclassed everybody on the court, and there wasn't a whole lot anyone could do to try and stop him. His battles with Magic Johnson went on till the end of his career, with both men trying to outdo each other at every turn. Though, before we check out their rivalry in the NBA, we're going to need to take a trip down memory lane all the way back to the Hicks High School and college careers. From the moment he touched a basketball, it was clear that Larry was an exceptional player. Throughout his high school career, Bird was the best player on their team. He'd often lead the team to championship wins, and even managed to become a local celebrity. People would be lining up to buy tickets to his games, and he managed to break records in terms of attendance, as his final home game had an insane attendance of 4,000 people. To put things into perspective, Bird's hometown, French Lick, was home to barely 2,000 people. So the man managed to double the town's population, all thanks to his insane skill on the court. People loved the man so much, they'd often give his parents rides to wherever they were going, as his family was too poor to afford a car of their own. By the time Larry joined,
I heard you used to get rides to the games as well. I heard local fans just pick him up for the games as well, man.
In fact,
they needed Larry to win that. You know what I'm saying? They needed Larry that day. The games, man.
Began, as the hit from French Lick started to gather attention and become a national sensation. The Sycamores became home to the Bird, and in return, he helped them go unbeaten in his first season there. In fact, he was so good, he managed to help them maintain an insane record of 81-13 throughout the 3 years he spent playing there. Then, of course, in his final year, he had his first encounter with Johnson on the court. Things didn't go so well, and the Sycamores ended up losing the 1979 NCAA championship game.
I remember that. I think I reacted to that game.
The beginning of a career-long rivalry. Things got even more heated.
Search it up with my name in the search bar. See if you find it.
Larry had become used to the fact that life just wasn't easy for him. The Celtics drafted him back in 1978, as he'd already become eligible for the NBA. But chances were slim that he'd join up with the big boys so early on. They knew that this kid was worth the wait. Back in the 1978 season, the Celtics put up their worst numbers ever, winning just 32 games while losing out on 50. Thankfully, they had Larry Bird come to help them save the day. You see, Bird joined the Celtics in the 1979-1980 season and managed to pull off one of the greatest turnarounds in NBA history. He was able to help the Celtics increase their win percentage until they managed to get back on top of their conference. He posted insane numbers, averaging 21.3 points per game, alongside a whopping 10.4 rebounds per game. At this point, everybody and their mother knew that Bird was destined for greatness. Despite Magic putting up similar numbers and performances, the NBA had to recognize Larry's greatness and went on to award him the Rookie of the Year award. This also earned him a trip to the first of his 12 All-Star games. Bird wasn't just a big help to the Celtics, he also helped the NBA get back on its feet. See, Bird was such a huge deal that fans of other teams would show up to watch him play. And he was so good that he managed to sell out stadiums in the last 541 games of his career. You don't see stuff like that happening these days, do you? It's because Bird was entertaining to watch and charismatic during interviews. He was everything the younger generation was inspired to be like, and always helped to set a good example for younger players. He only needed 2 seasons in the league to show everybody what he was all about. Plus, it felt like Bird wasn't there just to help his team win games. He was there to set an example. He was all about the hustle and showed just how awesome he was.
Nah, facts.
Becoming a clutch franchise player
He hits
for the
the
Celtics.
deck so much.
You can say that in a way.
Every
Larry
loose
helped
ball,
the
he
NBA
going
live
for
up
it.
to its slogan, which was NBA action. It's
Hit the
fantastic.
deck right there.
He didn't just help the league go up in numbers, but he helped change the game forever. The man was insanely skilled and rarely missed his shots. In fact, there was even a time when his free throw percentage was set at around 90%. Compare these stats to today's game, and you'll quickly understand why Bird is so revered.
Little tap pass.
Though a
You
time
talk about the
soon
greatest
came
pass
when
of
Bird
all
didn't
time
have it in
video
him to win any
of
more
Larry Bird.
championships. However, that didn't stop him from dominating the league. It was around this time that Bird started suffering from a few health issues. He just hit 30 and was facing back issues and issues with his foot. This led him to become less effective on the court, but he still managed to destroy his opponents every now and then. An example of how awesome he was when he managed to become the first ever Celtics player to achieve a 40-20, where he dropped 40 points and got 20 rebounds. Despite being well past his prime, he still managed to pull off insane feats like this, which again goes to show what an insane player he really was. In fact, it was during this time that Bird was able to win his third 3-point contest in a row. A crazy.
Is that Dennis Johnson that passed that?
A while after he achieved it.
I didn't even know Dennis Johnson was number 3. I thought he was number 0.
You'll begin to notice that while Larry wasn't able to win more than 3 championships, he made up for it by pulling off unbelievable feats on the court that almost no one can achieve these days. If you ask me, that's more than enough to solidify his legacy. And so, we've reached the final question in this video.
It's a shooter's touch.
What Larry Bird thinks about today's
Come on,
generation
man.
of basketball
Shooter's touch.
A lot of oldies seem to have a bad habit of hating on today's game. Like, they'll just be sitting around on a talk show when suddenly one of them will start reminiscing about the old days, and eventually launch into a tirade about how everything was so much better back then, and how the players of today just don't have that spark. Debatable, but thankfully, Larry is one of the people who actually enjoys watching what the game has evolved into. I mean, sure, he probably misses some of the rules they had back when he was still around.
Facts.
But watching the sport grow like that too in such a way,
it's beautiful, man, to see how these kids nowadays, you know what I'm saying, showing from half court, they're so skilled and all that. But of course, we want to see some of the fundamentals of the game. Stick with them. You know, the fundamentals got to stick with them, man. They got the physicality. Competitiveness, things like that. They got to stick with the game, man. For the game to be enjoyable, it's entertainment at the end of the day. So,
knowing that you were a huge part of helping it get this far, I mean, ask any player today, and they'll probably talk about how Larry Bird was one of their idols when they were picking up a basketball for the first time. It's honestly insane how much Larry was able to help the game evolve throughout his career. It went from being dependent on having huge centers to relying more on shooting guards and plays that favored the quicker, shorter players rather than the long and stocky ones. Like I said before, Bird was the first person to break the NBA tradition of handing it out to centers. The man was a godsend for the sport, and he won't be forgotten anytime soon.
Good tap pass.
He came out and talked about how proud he is of the players that ball out in the NBA today, and he's excited to see where the game goes in the future. With everything he's managed to achieve, his legacy has forever.
Facts. We already know that. W. Larry, man. If y'all want to see more Larry Bird reactions, let me know in the comments, man. And of course, I ain't gonna lie, Larry Bird's got one of those games that's forever gonna be, you know, noticed and remembered, bro. It's timeless, his game. Doing tap passes, out here circus shots, you know, just telling them, yo, I'm gonna bang this 3 right in your face, boy. You know what I'm saying? Right in the corner. You know what I'm saying? For the game, and we go home. Knocker, and we go home. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Word. But click on the last reaction. Share the video. Share the video is very important. Comment. Subscribe. Turn on post notifications, and I'm out of here, man.